Ryan Day's decision is coming, and Julian Sayin and Lincoln Kienholz have to leave no doubt every time they're on the field.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Thursday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now. During today's show, we will discuss a couple players that recently lost their black stripes, as well as if Ohio State should rotate players across the offensive line. But first, decision day is coming for Ryan Day, and Julian Sayin and Lincoln Kienholz have been grinding all offseason in preparation for this moment coming up this weekend, which is the final scrimmage before Ryan Day is expected to announce a starting quarterback. And both of these guys have done a lot of good things this year, gaining the necessary weight, Kienholz being an Iron Buckeye, Sayin improving on his accuracy and his poise in the pocket. They have things that make them worthy candidates to be Ohio State starting quarterback. But one thing we learned last year with Ryan Day is that sometimes he's going to pull out a phrase and ride that thing until the wheels fall off, or until you win a national championship. And last year's phrase in the college football playoff was leave no doubt. Ryan Day said it over and over and over because it was the motto for the playoff. You can't allow one play or a call from a ref to decide a game. You must leave no doubt while you're out there that you are the best team on that day. And the same thing goes for Sayin and Kienholz. They must leave no doubt today, tomorrow, Saturday, even on Sunday, as Day's presser is expected to be on Monday, where he's going to at least name the starting quarterback. He has a presser already scheduled for that day. There are things they can do right now that can show, hey, we're leaving no doubt, getting ready for the scrimmage in preparation for it when there will be pressure on you. And maybe Ryan Day wants the pressure. Maybe Ryan Day wants them to know decision day is coming. And you must prove it on the field every single day. And if there is a slip up, how do you respond? If there is a sack, how do you bounce back? If there is an interception, does it get into your head? There are things Ryan Day is looking at these guys for and wondering, how do they respond to the challenges that I am throwing at them? I mean, Ryan Day challenged players recently to step up, and I was not shy about saying that's what needs to happen. Ryan Day needs to challenge these guys over and over and over again, because a challenge is going to bring out the best in them. Think about a year ago in Jayden Ballard. Ryan Day was very open in training camp press conferences, more open than normal about Jayden Ballard needing to step up. He ended up getting jumped in the depth chart, both as a returner and as a receiver. And I think he got better, but he wasn't getting better quick enough. He also got jumped by guys in the depth chart that are better than him. And sometimes there are guys that are younger than you that are also better than you, a la Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, Jeremiah Smith. They were all going to be better than him no matter what. Now, Ballard at Wisconsin, I hope for his own sake and for me, hoping he does well in Madison, I hope he finds a way to step up and to have a career year for him this upcoming season. But when he was at Ohio State a year ago, and I'm not knocking him, I mentioned a part about him getting jumped to the depth chart by younger guys because those guys are better than him anyway. So it wasn't like he didn't step up in the necessary ways, which I don't think he did fully. He may have had plans to transfer after 2024 to begin with because there are more younger guys coming in that are better than him. And so I do think when it comes to these two quarterbacks, in Sayin and Kienholz, the challenges must be responded the correct way. And when Ryan Day even mentions players needing to step up and hey, we got some flashes, we see some consistency, we've seen some mental lapses, everybody and their mama needs to step up, these quarterbacks must hear that and respond to it the right way. Nick Saban did something very well when he was down there in Tuscaloosa, and that was go behind a podium in a press conference, either after a game or in the middle of the week, and he would say things about certain position groups or about certain players knowing that they would hear it would get back to them for them to respond. And Nick Saban wasn't really shying away from using that platform to call out certain things or call out certain coverages or call out certain players and they lost and say, or even in a win and say, hey, we won, but this wasn't good enough. He even did it with boosters. He literally did it with boosters, talking about, hey, we need some more money and we need some more funds to do the things we need to do, which we want to do, which is win. And Ryan Day is doing that too. Not so much specifically calling guys out like he did Jaden Ballard a year ago, but he is using some language that the players are going to hear and they're going to realize that they is talking about me, but he didn't say my name, but he's still mentioning me because that's something that I failed on. And we talked about it and I'm working on it, but to take it to the podium when there's a lot of media there, that's going to be something for you to look at and say, I really got to step up. And for Sayin and Kienholz, they must leave, no doubt. Think about last year's game against Tennessee. The aftermath of the Michigan loss was one that I don't remember ever having at Ohio State, even before I started hosting this podcast, because I think back to all of the years of Ohio State and Michigan in those rivalry games. I don't remember a coach coming out or the players responding in that way because of the loss. I don't remember that at all. No. But there was a very emotional moment for the players. You already had one loss to Oregon. You had a second loss to Michigan. You were literally unsure if you would make the playoff. Now, you thought you would make the playoff at 10-2. Would you host a playoff game? That was out of your hands, which I think was why Ryan Day leaned so hard into the motto of leave no doubt, because the Buckeyes didn't leave it. They left out there on the field and allowed their fate to be in someone else's hand. Now, they were the 8th seed in the bracket. They were the 6th seed in the country. And they were fortunate enough, even with 2 losses, to host a home playoff game. So going into the Tennessee game, Ryan Day is preaching, leave no doubt, leave no doubt. And I guarantee you, some of those practices between the Michigan loss and the Tennessee game were very intense. I mean, stupidly intense. Because Ryan Day knew that there were certain buttons he needed to push for this team, for last year's team, to get the best out of them. And I think he's doing the same thing right now with these 2 quarterbacks. Saying certain things behind the podium while highlighting certain players and saying, how do you respond when I say this? Or how do you respond when I don't mention you in this same way? How do you respond? These players must remain poised because I guarantee in Saturday's scrimmage, it's going to get physical. Not saying they're going to get touched because quarterbacks don't get touched, even during a sack. They don't get touched in that way. But it's going to be physical on the offensive line, physical on the D line. The running backs are going to be toting the rock as hard as they can. I guarantee there are going to be some clogged up spots in coverage. And Ryan Day is going to try to figure out, how do you respond in cover 2? How do you respond when the end man, which is the outside backer, and CJ Hicks drops back into coverage, and then someone loops around to where he was as a blitzer? How do you respond to those moments? How do you respond when there are 3 guys on Jeremiah Smith? How do you respond when the defense quickly takes your double and read away? How do you respond to those moments? And while you're trying to respond the correct way, you must leave no doubt, because that's what's needed for Ryan Day to pick the correct quarterback to lead Ohio State. I don't think he'll pick the wrong quarterback at all. The only time that you may thought he did pick the wrong quarterback was in 2023, but you must be a Devin Brown homer in a stand to think he was a better quarterback in 2023 over Kyle McCord. I think even to this point in time, I don't think people at Cal know what Devin Brown is as a quarterback. You have a good sample size, and even going into 2023, of what Kyle McCord was going to be as a quarterback. And he went 11-1, hit the portal, went to Syracuse, and broke some records. I think you can say he was a really good choice for Ryan Day and even for Fran Brown to lead those offenses in 2023 and 2024, respectively. Speaking of leading offenses, well, there's going to be a quarterback that's going to be announced to start for the team that's going to lead the offense. He's also going to be leading some guys on the offensive line, and I wonder if Ryan Day and Tyler Bowen are moving closer to rotating guys on the offensive line. I have some choice thoughts if that's a decision they decide to make. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Ryan Day and the offensive coaching staff have a lot of decisions to make. Not only are they trying to decide who the right man is to lead the Buckeyes offense in naming a QB1, but they have to fill five spots on the offensive line, which can be a very tough thing to do. However, and I'm going to say however because while it is a tough thing to do, I think the decision shouldn't be as hard as it currently is. There have been things that have happened this offseason that have thrown a curveball at the coaches because one player has progressed in a way that many people didn't think he was going to, which is a great thing. It's a great decision to make. It can be difficult. But when you look at the history of two players, in Ethan Ananwa and Philip Daniels, both of them are worthy candidates at right tackle. Philip Daniels was thought to be a guy that was going to start at right tackle. Didn't progress right away in the ways that Ohio State coaches thought he was going to. Cool, Servo's at right tackle. And then Servo seems like he is the one of the guys that can play left tackle that is the most trusted of those options. So now he is at left tackle, which leaves right tackle open. And if it sounds confusing, it's because it is, because there are way more moving parts with this unit than there should be. At this point in camp, you should already have your five working together every single day, not trying to figure out who those five are going to be. Now, I understand the tricky part because Philip Daniels has gotten better. He has progressed. He has shown he's a worthy guy to be a starting right tackle. But Ethan Ananwa is as well. And between those two options, no matter if it's Ananwa or Daniels, you let that guy start. Right now, it seems like the starting offensive line is going to be going left to right. Left tackle, Austin Servelt. Left guard, Luke Montgomery. Center, Carson Hinsman. Right guard, Tegra Shabola. Right tackle, either Ethan Ananwa or Philip Daniels. I'm leaning more towards Daniels over Ananwa because they are putting Ananwa and allowing him to get some reps at guard, which I don't think is a good thing for him. When I look at him, I don't see a guard body or even one that could be remotely used as a guard body. I see a tackle. I don't view him in the same way that I view Paris Johnson Jr. Not saying he's the same player, but Paris Johnson Jr. was literally a Swiss Army knife. I don't view Ananwa the same way, which goes into the thought that Ohio State might rotate across the offensive line like they did during the CFP a year ago, especially when they beat Texas last year. I didn't like it last year, even though it worked very well. I didn't like it, and I don't like it now. I don't like rotating on the offensive line. And somebody might say, well, Jay, you rotate at tight end, you play multiple tight ends and running backs and receivers. You may even play when Zach Smith was at Ohio State coaching receivers. He played 5 or 6 guys every single week at receiver, and it worked to perfection. On the D line, you're probably going to have a rotation of 8 to 10 guys. At linebacker, you're playing 3, even though your base is a 4-2-5. In the secondary, you're going to have multiple guys play. Why not on the offensive line? You're not going to rotate at quarterback. That's stupid. I view it just as stupid on the offensive line. If I'm an offensive lineman at this point of camp, and there are 2 weeks before we play Texas, I would be very, very annoyed if we are constantly going out there with different players on the unit because we need to build chemistry. We need to be able to build chemistry in a way that is a little bit quicker than normal because you're playing Texas week 1. This is very similar to Ohio State playing Notre Dame week 1 in 2022 or hosting opening a season with Minnesota in 2021 week 1 on the road. You must build that chemistry early and try to cultivate it and make it as strong as it can be, at least at this point in the season. If you know right now you're going to rotate either at tackle or at guard, what are you doing? You're limiting reps. You're limiting opportunities for Hinsman to work with the guard or even tackle on the right side. I don't think the left side is going to change between Servelt and Montgomery. Hinsman, not going to do anything, not going anywhere. Shabola, is he truly a guard? They're going to put him there. I don't know if it's his best position. I still am on that track and on the mindset that I still think Shabola might be a better tackle. He's getting reps at tackle, but what's he going to start at this year? Probably guard, but it's not set in stone. It's easier to roll into a season with a quarterback that you know is worthy to have the job and to get that official title of QB1 at this point in camp than to go out there and have offensive linemen trying to build chemistry. And let's say you go into the middle of next week, but without rolling out with your true offensive line, that'd be difficult. Very, very difficult. And honestly, it would be an advantage to Texas, where Texas has lost some guys on the D line. They still recruit very, 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 very well. And is this a knock on Ohio State recruiting that you have to go to the portal to get guys at tackle, and you realize, well, the guys that went to the portal, they aren't really both at the caliber that we thought, and we don't really have the tackle depth we thought we had. So we're trying to do things in an unorthodox way to get the right or the best 5 out there. And I've said it once. I'm going to say it again because I think it's worth repeating, especially when we're talking about the offensive line. If you want your best 5 out there, that's what Ohio State had, I think it was in 2022. 2022 or 2021. Forgive me on the year. That's kind of escapes me from time to time. But Ohio State went out there. I believe it was Thayer Munford at left tackle. It's beginning of training camp. Thayer Munford at left tackle. Left guard was Matthew Jones. I believe center was Harry Miller that year. I believe. Could be wrong, but I believe the center was Harry Miller. Right guard was Paris Johnson Jr., and then right tackle was Nicholas Petit-Frere. This point in camp, maybe a couple of days prior to this point in camp, a few years ago, it came out to being Petit-Frere at left tackle, Thayer Munford at left guard, Harry Miller at center, Paris Johnson Jr. at right guard, and then DeJuan Jones at right tackle. And I believe the Buckeyes have the mindset of putting the best 5 out there, not the right 5. And I still think, this is revisionist history, I still think the best 5 would have been inserting Matthew Jones at left guard and then going back to the original spot. Munford's not a guard. And I think that may have hurt his draft stock. But Ohio State decided to roll out there that way, and they went out there with an 11-1 season. This year, I think you should learn from your mistakes, or not so much from your mistakes. So that was a decent offensive line. It was decent. It was actually better than decent, honestly. It was pretty good at times. But there were also times where you realized these guys are part of the reason the Buckeyes can't run the ball. So when I say decent, I mean it's not the worst. It's better than average. But they couldn't run the ball. And if you have the wrong guys in the wrong places this year, what you could find is that Ohio State struggles to run the ball because they can't get the offensive line correct. Coach Strudrara struggled with, and I said, if I butchered his name, forgive me. I've always struggled with that one. The Buckeyes O-line recruiting was a big issue. A big issue, was a problem. Coach Stud was gone. O-line recruiting wasn't the best. Justin Fry got better with the O-line recruiting, but it still wasn't the best. Tyler Bowen came in, hit the ground running, got some quick commitments very, very quickly, and got some really good guys. Also didn't hit on the high-end caliber tackles and guards in this recruiting cycle, which could come back to hurt Ohio State. We haven't done a recruiting show in a while, and I may have to do one very, very soon because I am kind of concerned with Ohio State. I think they only have 21 verbal commits, and there are still some needs that they have with this class. Yes, they're going to get some more commitments throughout the season. There's an official visit scheduled for the home game against Texas, so there are still some more things that are going to happen with the recruiting. But recruiting on the offensive line has been a problem, which leads to why Ohio State has a couple guys in the portal. Has anybody ever thought? I don't know if I said this on the show. Onyanwa played right tackle at Rice. Why did Ohio State try to put him at left tackle? Because it made the most sense. It was an easy fix when you lose Simmons and Zin Mahalski and Donovan Jackson. So you try to put him into a place where you think you can transform him and put him there. Yeah, that's a great thought. But maybe in spring you realize this guy is going to be a right tackle and move in there immediately. I don't see him at guard. I'm not a fan of rotating it on the offensive line. I never have been. I never will be. Can it work? Yes. Is it the best option? Absolutely not. What the best option for a couple players were coming to Ohio State, because there are two more players that entered the portal that recently lost their black stripes. This episode is brought to you by Wayfair. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. I recently grabbed a new couch from Wayfair, and it's been the perfect addition to my home. It instantly made my space feel refreshed and ready for fall. This is the perfect time to get my home ready, whether that's organizing, upgrading my workspace, or making weeknight dinners easier. Get organized, refreshed, and back to routine for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Thank you all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. I love every time there are players out there at Ohio State that lose their black stripes. It is another sign that you have proven you have what it takes to be a Buckeye. And there are a couple more players, and these two are transfers, that recently lost their black stripes. And these are a couple players that are definitely going to be big pieces of the pie for Ohio State this year. Beau Atkinson, the North Carolina transfer, and Phillip Daniels, the Minnesota transfer, are two guys that I do think, if they're not starting, they're going to play a lot of ball. And we know my thoughts about rotating on the offensive line. Phillip Daniels, get that starting job. Don't rotate, sir. I'm not a fan of rotating on the O-line at all. And I'm not the only person that's not a fan of it, but even more for Ohio State. Do not do it. But for Atkinson specifically, let's go ahead and stick with him. No, let's do Daniels first. Let's do Daniels first and then come back to Beau. Phillip Daniels losing his black stripe right now is huge. It just once again furthers the argument he has already made for him to be a starter for Ohio State. His ascension up this year, up the depth chart, has been huge, and it is one that has caused a lot of headaches, maybe. Not so much headaches where you're like annoyed, but more headaches because he's forcing the coaches to think twice about the projected starting O-line that they had in their notebooks or in their heads. Because, yeah, it definitely seemed like Saraville was going to be the starting right tackle, but if he is the guy you trust the best, you have the highest trust in at left tackle, put him there. I don't know if that's his best position or even the right spot for him. But if the coaches believe that they trust him with the utmost trust that they could put in it off of the lineman that's never played that spot in college, that Saraville would definitely open the door for Daniels to start at right tackle. And I think for Ohio State right now, they've had a great string and run with guys coming from the portal. Let's look at Josh Simmons, who was a first-round pick, even though he didn't play half the season a year ago. I only played really 5.5 games. He didn't even play 6 full games because he got hurt in the Oregon game. And then you think about the other 10 games. He didn't even play half the year last year, and he was a first-round pick, the 32nd pick overall, I believe, to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's wild. Yeah, you have your Vic Cutlers that come in and never really pan out. But you look up and down, Ohio State normally doesn't miss with transfers. And for Phillip Daniels to be a guy that lost his black stripe now, I wouldn't be shocked if when Ryan Day announces a starting quarterback, he says, okay, y'all want clarity on the offensive line, I'll give it to you. and he runs down left to right or right to left or just pieces it together, the puzzle to describe what the starting offensive line will be. And it wouldn't shock me if Daniels is in that unit. It also wouldn't shock me if Ryan Day said we might rotate. Now, saying might and then saying you will is a little bit different. Because if you say you might, that is something that if I am Sark, I'm hearing that or getting that fed to me, and they're saying, oh yeah, Ryan Day says they might rotate on the offensive line. That may be a disaster for Texas. Or that might be something where they can find holes to create bigger. I don't know if that even made sense. Let's try that again. That is a way that they can actually find holes in the offensive line that they could exploit. There you go. That's a whole lot better. But for Philip Downs to lose his black stripe now, hats off to you, sir. Hats off to you. The other is Beau Atkinson. And Beau Atkinson, the North Carolina transfer, came to Ohio State eager to prove himself. And it's tough to do it in a new place, especially a place that has a lot of lofty expectations like Ohio State. Then you're getting coached by Larry Johnson, who is one of the best D-line developers in the entire country. It's a lot, man. It's a lot riding on one man's shoulders. And he came in, he put his foot down, he got to work, he didn't waver, and he lost his black stripe. And it wouldn't shock me if he is a starting defensive lineman for Ohio State. He won't play every snap, just like Kenyatta Jackson Jr. won't play every snap. CJ Hicks is going to play. Caden Curry's going to play. Logan George might end up playing too. So it wouldn't shock me at all if those are the guys that ended up playing a lot. But for these two guys to lose their black stripes before the scrimmage on Saturday is key. They are added to the list of 6 guys that have lost their black stripes during training camp. The other 4, Riley Pettijohn, Nate Roberts, are both true freshmen. The other true freshman is Devin Sanchez, and then senior, also a transfer, and CJ Donaldson lost his black stripe too. The first 2 lost theirs on August the 5th. The other 2 lost theirs on August the 6th. I would be shocked if there weren't 6 to 7 guys losing their black stripes after the practice on Saturday, especially that scrimmage. It's a big, big moment for Ohio State, not just for getting a lot of questions answered, but also it's kind of a celebratory moment. We've made it this far in our preparation for the year, but our work isn't done. I am going to guess that Ohio State's going to go into more of a traditional game week preparation next week, knowing that when school starts, practice will be at a different time. Or class hours, that is. I say school. High schools all around. High school, middle school, elementary school. All I see when I'm on the socials and looking at some of my friends, it is school, school, school. And so I know college, it is school, but you say more classes. And so that's why the school thing is in my head. Before Ohio State right now, they're in a good spot. I'm going to be critical. That's my job. That's what I am. I am that kind of analyst. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to be critical of Ohio State. I'm going to be critical of Ryan Day. I'm going to be critical of these guys because this team is really, really talented. I mean, there's a reason why Ohio State's number 3 in the AP poll, number 2 in the coaches poll. They are, I believe, number 2 in Locked On's Big Ten rankings. I mean, there's a reason why they're right there. There's a reason why in the blue chip ratio, I believe they're number 2 in the country. There's a reason why Julian, Sayin, and Daniels and Onyanwa and others come to Ohio State. The standard is stupid high. And the standard being stupid high might push some people away. But they're not backing down from the lofty standard. No, they're accepting it and they're attacking it just like they're attacking a national championship. And for Ryan Day right now, well, we are being critical of what's going on during camp and some of the questions we have, and really I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over. Don't rotate on the offensive line. When Ohio State shifted things a few years ago and they put 4 tackles out there in the center, they rotated a little, not a lot. And when it happened, it was a big question, like, why? Why now? It's not needed. Now, a year ago, maybe it was needed. Donovan Jackson is at his normal spot. Seth McLaughlin got hurt. Simmons got hurt. Your backup left tackle got hurt as well. So maybe it was needed a year ago because guys were banged up and they weren't able to have a high level of play for a very long time due to some of these circumstances around the offensive line. No one's hurt right now. None of your starting five or those that were in contention to be a starter at that unit, they're not hurt. So treat it like you would any other year. Go out there with the right five. That's not the best five offensive linemen. That is the right five offensive linemen, and let that thing rock. Going out there with your best five might work in some games. It will probably work in a lot of games, but it could lead to Ohio State going in a route that they don't want to go, which is having multiple losses once again in 2020 in back-to-back seasons. You don't want that. You never do, but it could happen. I do believe Ohio State right now is in a spot that a lot of schools will want to be in. You have two worthy candidates to be a starting quarterback. You have two running backs that are expected to be really, really good. You have the best player in the country in Jeremiah Smith. You have the second best player in the country in Caleb Downs. You have defensive line, a D line that is inexperienced but is full of talent. You have three guys, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, and Peyton Pierce, that a lot of schools around the country would love to have just one of those guys. And Ohio State has all three. In the secondary, Matthews Jr., Igbinoza, Lorenzo Styles Jr., Bryce West, Aaron Scott Jr., Jalen McClain, Malik Hartford. I mean, the list goes on and on about the immense amount of talent that Ohio State has. And I'm saying this at the end of this show because it may seem like after we were discussing the O-line rotation or possible O-line rotation I am not a fan of, it may seem like I'm being a little bit too harsh. No. There is a standard that is high at Ohio State. And the standard is a standard, and you don't try to lower it. And I do believe with Ohio State, the standard being the standard is going to help dictate some of the decisions you make. Ryan Day was open during Big Ten Media Days about Ohio State attacking another national championship. You can't attack another national championship while just going through the motions or trying to do things just to get by. No, you must attack and make sure every decision is the correct one. Thank y'all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes, making this show your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the portal because my guy Brian Smith, he has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. You can find the portal and Locked On Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform or jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. And this has been Locked On Buckeyes right here on a Thursday. We'll see you next time.